My wife cheated on me with her boss, and then she manipulated me into signing over our $300, $0 house and half of our joint $250, $0 savings in a settlement, but now she's claiming I owe her another $100, $0, and is threatening to take everything in court. I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, but here I am, spilling it all. It started with what I thought was just a rough patch, little signs that didn't quite add up. My wife had always been a bit high maintenance, but recently she'd become more distant, more secretive. She'd leave her phone on silent, hide her texts, and whenever I tried to ask her what was going on, she'd brush me off with a quick, "Nothing, I'm just stressed." Yeah, right. It wasn't until I noticed her acting weird around her boss, Mark, that I started to get suspicious. Had been working late a lot lately, claiming she was under pressure at work, but her stories felt flimsy. She'd come home looking exhausted, but I'd catch her sneaking calls in the bathroom or during late-night drives that she'd insist were just errands. I brushed it off at first, convinced I was overthinking it. But then I found her phone, accidentally left on the couch when I went to grab a beer. That's when I saw it, the texts. At first I thought it was just friendly banter, but then I saw the way they talked about meeting up after work, secret plans, and how much they both needed this. I saw messages from her that were flirtatious, even intimate. She called him babe a few times, and he responded with things that made my stomach turn. I felt my blood run cold. My heart was pounding and I couldn't breathe. I knew right then that my wife was cheating on me and it crushed me. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, so I waited. I watched her more closely and sure enough, I caught her sneaking out late at night, leaving her phone behind. I followed her one night and saw her going into a hotel with Mark. That was the moment I knew for sure. She'd been lying to me all this time and she was sleeping with her boss. It felt like the ground had shifted beneath me. I was furious, betrayed, and utterly helpless. When I finally confronted her, it was like opening a floodgate. I was trembling, trying to keep my voice steady, but inside I was raging. I told her I knew about Mark, that I saw the messages, that I followed her. She looked at me with those cold, dismissive eyes and lied outright. "You're crazy," she said. "That's just work stuff. You're overreacting. You're jealous." She spun it like I was the one in the wrong. She even had the nerve to tell me I was paranoid, that I was making it all up because I didn't trust her. But I knew better. I had seen enough. The emotional fallout hit me hard. I went from shock to anger in a flash. I felt betrayed beyond words. All those years together, the plans we made, the dreams we shared, they meant nothing to her, apparently. She was out screwing her boss, and I was just some idiot who didn't see it coming. I felt humiliated, furious, and broken all at once. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her with Mark, smirking like she'd gotten away with something. It was like my whole world was crashing down around me. But what hurt even more was realizing how she manipulated me. After she got caught, she played the victim, crying about how I was accusing her without proof and ruining her career. She told me I was overreacting, that it was just sex, that it didn't mean anything. She insisted I was the one who was insecure, that I should trust her. I wanted to believe her at first, to find some way to fix this mess, but deep down I knew the truth. She didn't love me anymore. She was with him, and she was lying her ass off to keep me from finding out. I started thinking about everything we had, our house, our savings, the future we'd planned. We had a $300, $0 house, and about $250, $0 saved up. I was the breadwinner, working my ass off in a decent job, while she was supposed to be my wife. But now, all of that felt like it was slipping through my fingers. She manipulated me into signing over our house and half of our savings in some so-called settlement, after she threatened me with court. She made it seem like I was the one who was wrong, that I owed her for the emotional damage she claimed I caused. And I fell for it, stupidly signing papers that gave her everything I worked for. The betrayal left me feeling hollow. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind, so naive. All those nights I stayed up worrying about her. All the times I thought she was just stressed. Turns out she was sleeping with her boss behind my back. And now she's claiming I owe her another $100 grand, saying I cheated her out of her fair share of the house and our savings. She's threatening to drag me through court, to take everything I have. It's like she's got me cornered and I don't see any way out. I just know I need to do something, but I'm so lost in it all. After the initial shock wore off, I started to realize how deep this betrayal really went. My wife was not just cheating on me with her boss, Mark, but she was also twisting everything around to make herself seem innocent. She's one of those people who can lie with a straight face. The kind that you almost believe until you see through the bullshit. She's bitchy, manipulative, and she's got a way of twisting words so that she always comes out looking like the victim, even when she's the one who's done everything wrong. Once I had the evidence, I knew I couldn't just brush this off. I had to confront her again, face to face, and get some answers. I told her I knew about Mark, that I'd seen the messages, and that I wasn't going to pretend I didn't see. She scoffed, rolled her eyes, and threw out a string of lies. "You're crazy," she snapped. "That's just work stuff. You're paranoid and you're ruining everything because you're insecure." She had the nerve to say I was overreacting, that I was jealous. I could see right through her lies, but it didn't make it any easier. It just made me angrier. What really got to me was how she dismissed what I felt, how she tried to gaslight me into thinking I was the problem. She kept insisting that I was imagining things, that Mark was just a friend, and that I was just jealous of her. Success, success. She's been working so much lately, coming home late, acting secretive, and then she has the audacity to claim I'm jealous. I was furious. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Every ounce of trust I had in her was evaporating fast. I started to think about everything we'd built together, our house, our savings, the life we'd planned. Our house was worth about $300, $0, and we had around $250, $0 in joint savings. I was the one working, providing for us, while she stayed home or worked her own side gigs. But now she's manipulating me into signing over half of everything. She told me I owed her for emotional damages, and she threatened me with court if I didn't cooperate. She made it sound like I was the one at fault, like I'd cheated her out of something. She even claimed I owed her another $100, $0, saying I had hidden money or some bullshit. That's when I realized she'd been planning this all along. She's a master manipulator. She's been playing the victim the whole time, trying to make me look like the bad guy. She's been telling everyone I'm the one who's been abusive or controlling just so she can get away with everything. She's even gone as far as to threaten me with court, claiming she'll take everything I own if I don't give her what she wants. I was so furious, I thought about just walking away, but I knew I couldn't let her get away with it. I needed to fight back. I started researching what I could do legally. I found out that she had no right to claim I owed her more money. She was just trying to squeeze more out of me. I also learned that signing those papers might not be as binding as she claimed if I could prove she manipulated me. But at the same time, I was scared. I'd never been in a situation like this before. I was worried she'd push me into a corner, take everything I had, and then accuse me of being the bad guy in court. I felt like I was in a war I didn't know how to win. Meanwhile, was becoming more aggressive. She started throwing accusations around, calling me abusive, because I was upset and controlling, because I wanted to see her phone. She's one of those people who can turn the tables so easily, make it seem like I'm the one at fault. She's good at lying, and she's even better at making herself seem innocent. She's bitchy and manipulative, and she's used that to her advantage since day one. I could see her trying to paint me as the villain, but I wasn't going to let her get away with it. The worst part is knowing she's been lying to everyone, telling them I've been terrible, when in reality, she's the one who's betrayed me. She's been sneaking around with Mark, lying about it, and then turning around to make me look like the bad guy. I feel so betrayed, so stupid for trusting her all these years. I keep asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I didn't see her true nature sooner. But I guess love blinds you sometimes. Now I'm stuck trying to figure out what's next, how to protect what's mine, and how to deal with the emotional wreckage she's left behind. I've decided I'm not going down without a fight. I've started collecting every piece of evidence I can, texts, emails, bank statements, and I'm considering hearing a lawyer. I know she's planning to take me to court, claiming I owe her more money and I want to be ready. I want to make sure she doesn't manipulate her way into taking everything I've worked for. This isn't just about the money anymore. It's about standing up for myself against her lies and manipulation. I don't know how this will end, but I do know one thing. I won't let her ruin me without a fight. After I started digging into what was happening behind my back, everything became a blur of anger, frustration, and a deep sense of betrayal. My wife was not just cheating on me. She was actively manipulating the entire situation to her advantage. She'd spun this web of lies so well that I almost questioned my own memories. She kept insisting I was overreacting, that I was paranoid, and that her affair with Mark was just a mistake she'd made because she was stressed out. Yeah, right. Like that makes it okay. Her reaction when I confronted her the second time was classic. She threw a tantrum, got bitchy, and accused me of trying to control her. She, everything about Mark, said I was imagining things, and claimed I was just jealous because she had a better career than me. That was her go-to excuse, blame me for everything. She even had the nerve to say I owed her more money because I was abusing her trust and ruining her reputation. She claimed I'd cheated her out of her fair share of our house and savings, and she threatened to take me to court if I didn't sign over everything. That's when I realized she had been planning this for a while. The way she kept pushing for me to sign those papers, how she kept claiming I owed her more money, she was trying to squeeze every penny she could out of me. I couldn't believe how far she'd go. She's a master manipulator, and I'd fallen right into her trap, signing away half the house, thinking it was the only way to get her to leave me alone. But I was wrong. It was just the beginning. I started talking to a lawyer, trying to understand what my rights were. Turns out, she had no legal grounds to demand an additional $100, $0 from me unless she could prove I'd hidden money or owed her something specific. But she was bluffing, trying to scare me into giving her more. I could see through her game, but that didn't make it any easier. She's good at twisting the truth, making herself look innocent, and I knew she'd lie her way through court if she had to. That's why I was gathering evidence, texts, emails, bank statements, anything I could use to prove she was the one manipulating everything. Meanwhile, her attitude kept getting worse. She was bitchy, dismissive, and downright cruel. She'd call me names, accuse me of being controlling, and try to gaslight me into thinking I was the crazy one. She told everyone I was abusive and unstable just to make herself look better. I couldn't believe how she'd turned into this vindictive person. She was threatening me with court, saying she'd take everything I had, even though I knew deep down she had no real case. It was all just a power play to get more money and to punish me for catching her cheating. Honestly, I felt like I was losing my mind. I'd worked so hard for the house, for our savings, and now she was trying to take it all away. I kept asking myself how I didn't see her true nature sooner. I thought I knew her, but she's been playing me all along. That's what hurts the most, realizing I was so blind to her manipulations. She's always been bitchy, yes, but this was on a whole new level. She's relentless, and she's using her tears, her fake innocence, to get what she wants. The thing is, I wasn't going to let her win. I started to stand my ground. I told her I'd fight her in court if I had to, that I'd prove she was lying about the money, and that I wouldn't be bullied into giving her more than what's fair. I also reached out to friends and family, trying to get some support, because honestly I felt so alone in this. She's good at making people feel sorry for her, at painting herself as the victim, but I saw through it. I knew she was just trying to cover her tracks and keep her lies intact. I'm not going to lie, this whole thing is draining. The emotional toll is heavy. Every day I wake up feeling betrayed and angry. I keep replaying everything in my head, trying to figure out how I got here. How did I miss the signs? How did I not see how manipulative she was? But now I realize I have to be smart, stay calm, and protect what's mine. That's what I'm doing, getting my evidence, talking to lawyers, and preparing for whatever court might bring. I know she's dangerous, and I know she'll stop at nothing to get her way. But I won't let her take everything I've worked for without a fight. By this point, I was deep into the legal process and trying to keep my head straight. Behavior only got bitchier and more manipulative. She'd call me nonstop, crying fake tears, accusing me of trying to ruin her life, and insisting she was the victim. She'd say things like, "You're trying to take everything I deserve," or "You're just jealous because I'm successful and you're not." It was exhausting. Every time she threw another accusation at me, I'd have to remind myself she's just trying to distract me from the real issue, her betrayal and greed. She kept insisting I owed her more money, claiming I'd hidden assets or that I'd been abusive and controlling to cover her tracks. I knew she was lying, but she's so good at spinning stories that she almost convinced some of her friends and family. She tell them I was a terrible husband, that I'd been emotionally abusive, and that I wouldn't give her her fair share. Meanwhile, I was gathering every shred of proof I could, screenshots of her texts with bank statements showing her secret payments, and emails where she discussed her plans to manipulate me into signing over the house. One day, she showed up at my apartment unannounced, looking even more bitchy than usual. She had this fake innocent look on her face, acting like she was the victim. She started crying, saying she didn't want to hurt me, and that she only cheated because she was stressed out and unhappy. Yeah, right, I wasn't buying it. I told her to leave, that I wasn't going to be manipulated anymore. That's when she dropped the bomb. She claimed I had cheated on her too, which was a flat-out lie. I hadn't touched anyone else, but she was trying to turn everything around on me, make me look like the bad guy. It was at that moment I realized how deep her lies went. She was willing to say anything, do anything to keep herself afloat. She'd even try to pin her affair on me just to justify her actions. I couldn't believe how bitchy and manipulative she was becoming. It was like she'd become a different person, cold, calculating, and relentless. She'd threaten me with court, claiming I owed her another $100, $0, and that she'd take everything I had if I didn't give in. But I knew she was bluffing. I had the evidence to prove her lies, and I was ready to fight. Meanwhile, I'd hired a lawyer, and we started building a case to challenge her claims. I told her, flat out, that I wasn't giving her anything more. She'd already manipulated me into signing those papers, and I was going to fight for what was rightfully mine. I couldn't stand her bitchy attitude anymore. I'd never felt so betrayed in my life. Every day I'd wake up feeling angry and helpless, but I also knew I had to stay strong. I couldn't let her win, not like this. One night I sat down and looked at everything I'd collected. The texts, the emails, the bank statements. It was enough to prove she'd been lying all along. She'd been planning this for months, working her manipulative magic to turn me into the villain. I realized I'd been a fool to trust her so blindly. All those years I thought she was my partner, my best friend. Turns out she was just using me. That realization hit hard, but it also gave me clarity. I knew what I had to do next. I decided I wasn't going to let her walk all over me anymore. I'd fight for my rights, for the things I'd earned. I'd stand my ground and protect what little was left of my dignity. I knew she'd try to twist things, spin stories, and manipulate everyone around her, but I had the truth on my side. I was preparing for court, ready to show her for what she really was, a manipulative, bitchy woman who'd do anything for money and control. And I was determined not to let her get away with it. I'd come too far to let her destroy me now. By this stage, I was fully immersed in the legal fight, and true colors shone brighter than ever. She was relentless, calling me every day, trying to guilt me into settling, crying fake tears and spinning stories about how I was trying to ruin her life. But I saw through all of it. She's good at being bitchy and manipulative, and she knew exactly how to push my buttons. Every call, every email was a game to her, a way to try to wear me down, to make me doubt myself. She kept insisting I owed her more money, claiming I'd hidden assets or that I'd been emotionally abusive and controlling. She'd throw around accusations like, "You're a terrible husband," "You never cared," or "You're just jealous because I've moved on." But I had enough evidence now to prove her lies. I had screenshots of her messages with Mark, showing how they planned their meetings, how she lied about working late, and how she'd even sent him intimate texts. I had bank statements showing her secret payments, money she'd transferred to herself, hiding it from me. I had emails where she discussed her plans to manipulate me into signing over the house and our savings. One day she showed up unannounced at my apartment, looking even more bitchy than usual. Her eyes were cold, her attitude dismissive. She started crying fake tears, claiming she didn't want to hurt me and that she'd only cheated because she was stressed out and unhappy. But I wasn't buying it. I told her to leave, that I'd had enough of her manipulations. That's when she dropped the biggest lie of all. She claimed I'd cheated on her too. That was a flat-out lie. I hadn't touched anyone else, yet she was trying to turn the tables, make me look like the bad guy. That moment was a turning point. I realized how deep her lies went, how far she'd go to cover her tracks. She's willing to say anything, do anything to keep herself afloat. She's bitchy, manipulative, and she's become downright hostile. She threatened me with court, claiming I owed her an extra $100, $0, and that she'd take everything I had if I didn't give her what she wanted. But I knew she was bluffing. I had the evidence to prove she'd been lying all along, that she'd been planning this scheme for months. I'd already hired a lawyer and we started preparing for the court case. I told her plainly that I wasn't giving her anything more. She'd already manipulated me into signing those papers, and I was going to fight for what was rightfully mine. I was sick of her bitchy attitude, her lies, and her manipulations. Every day I felt betrayed, angry, and exhausted. But I also knew I had to stay strong. I couldn't let her win. Not like this. I spent hours going over all the evidence I'd collected. The texts, the emails, the bank statements, everything pointed to her scheming from the start. She'd been working on this for months, trying to turn everyone against me, trying to make herself look innocent. I realized I'd been a fool to trust her so blindly. All those years I thought she was my partner, my wife, my best friend. Turns out, she was just using me, playing me for a fool. That realization cut deep, but it also gave me clarity. I knew what I had to do: fight for what's mine and stop her from taking everything I'd worked for. I made a decision. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. I'd stand my ground, fight in court if I had to, and protect my assets. I knew she'd try to spin things, lie, manipulate everyone around her, but I had the truth. I had the evidence, and I was going to use it. I wasn't going to let her walk away with everything just because she was bitchy and manipulative. I'd come too far for that. This was about my future, my dignity, and my hard-earned money, and I was ready to fight for it, no matter how difficult it got. In the end, everything played out exactly as I feared, but also exactly as I expected. The court proceedings were brutal, filled with her bitchy attitude and manipulative tactics. Tried to paint me as the villain, claiming I was controlling, emotionally abusive, and that I'd cheated her out of her fair share. But I had the evidence, screenshots, emails, bank statements, that proved she'd been planning this from the start, that she'd lied to everyone, including her own friends and family. When the judge reviewed everything, it was clear who was telling the truth. I didn't owe her another dime, and I was awarded the house back, minus the part she'd already taken in the settlement. The court also ordered her to pay back some of the money she'd illegally transferred from our joint accounts. It was a small victory, but it felt like a huge relief. I finally felt like I was reclaiming some control over my life after being manipulated, lied to, and betrayed for so long. This bitchy, manipulative nature didn't disappear overnight. She was furious, screaming and crying in court, trying to twist everything into her favor. But the judge saw through her act. She was forced to admit she'd been unfaithful, and her attempts to claim I owed her more money were dismissed. The court made it clear that her lies and manipulations had no place in the legal process, and I was granted full custody of the house and my savings. After the court, I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. Relief because I'd fought for what was mine and finally stood up to her, but sadness because I'd lost so many years trusting someone I thought was my partner. This manipulative, bitchy attitude had cost us everything: our marriage, our peace of mind, and a chunk of our financial security. I realized that sometimes people aren't who they seem, and trusting blindly can leave you vulnerable. Looking back, I learned a lot from this nightmare. Trust is fragile and you have to protect yourself. Never ignore the warning signs, no matter how small. They're often clues to something much worse. And always, always keep records. Keep track of your money, your communications, your plans. Because when someone is manipulative and bitchy, they'll do whatever it takes to get what they want, even if it means destroying your life. I've moved on now, trying to rebuild what's left of my life. It's not easy, but I know I'm better off without someone so manipulative and selfish. If there's one thing I want others to take from this, it's this. Stand up for yourself, fight for what's right, and don't let anyone manipulate you into giving up what you've worked hard for. Trust your instincts, gather your evidence, and never be afraid to walk away from a toxic situation, even if it's the hardest thing you've ever done. Because in the end, your integrity and peace of mind are worth more than any material thing.